Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasoda Nandana Vajajanna Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Kacharya Shri Shrimad Bhagavatam Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Rantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the Srimad devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakayo Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svabhadantigam Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyarevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto Chapter 4 Verse 33. Nadvigna Chitto Vyasanirkshuni Shpreha Shrutershu Drishteshu Guneshvavasudrik. Dantindriya Prana Shariradi Sadha Prashant Kamo Rahita Suro Suraha. others. Advigna Chitta Vyasanirksha Nispreha Shrutershu Drishtirshu Gunirshavatsudrik Dantindriya Prana Sharidadhi Sadha Shantakam Rahita Suro Sura Not Udvigna agitated Chitta whose consciousness Vyasane Shru in dangerous conditions Nispriha without desire Shrutershu in things heard of, especially elevation to heavenly planets, because of pious activities. Drishteshu, as well as in temporal things seen. Gunershu, the objects of sense gratification, under the modes of material nature. Avastudrik, seen as if insubstantial. Danta, controlling. Indriya, the senses. Prana, the living force. Sharira, the body. Dhi, and intelligence. Sadha, always. Prashanta, quieted. Kama, whose material desires. Rahita, completely devoid of. Asura, demoniac nature. Asura, although born in a demoniac family. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Translation, although Prahlada Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruit of activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. Purport from this verse, we discover that a man is not qualified or disqualified simply by birth. Prahlada Maharaj was an Asura by birth, yet he possessed all the good qualities of a perfect Brahmana, Brahmanya Shiva Sampanna. Anyone can become a fully qualified Brahmana under the direction of a spiritual master. Prahlada Maharaj provided a vivid example of how to think of the spiritual master and accept his directions calmly. It's a weird sentence to me. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. So the last line in the verse says, Rahita Asura Asura. So Asura, although he was born in a demon family or a family of non-godly persons, Rahita Asura, he was devoid of demoniac qualities. So Prabhupada says this is the main thrust of the purport of this statement here. From this verse we discover that a man is not qualified or disqualified simply by birth. So although born in a family of demons, he himself was not a demon. And then those demoniac qualities are then described indirectly. The first one here is Udvigna Chitta Vyasaneshu. So Udvigna Chitta means one whose consciousness is disturbed by Vyasaneshu, by dangerous situations. So if you're a demon, then your consciousness is disturbed by agitating circumstances. Anyone here got that quality? If you're a demon, then if a situation is disturbing, you get disturbed. So there's the first quality that's being mentioned indirectly of the demoniac or non-godly person. Na udvigna chitta vyasneshu means his consciousness was not disturbed by dangerous situations. So it's saying the opposite, that normally if you were a demon, then put in a dangerous situation, then your consciousness gets agitated. So anyone, you can just make a little checklist, if I'm a demon or not. The next one is mentioned, nispriha shruteshu drishteshu. So Prabhupada's translation of the verse is, he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruit of activities described in the Vedas. So directly means drishteshu. Drishteshu means to see. So you see something that's enjoyable and you become filled with desire. Nispriha means no desire. So spriha becomes filled with longing or desire when seeing something enjoyable. Like you see, for example, best example is you see the object of sex desire. And when you see that object, you might get into a little trouble. Your heart becomes filled with desire. No one can say they don't get agitated. That would be very dishonest. Unless you're Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada told that the reporter asked him why he was sitting on an opulent seat, the Vyasa-san. And Prabhupada said, the difference between you and I is that I can be in a room full of naked women and not be disturbed, and you cannot. And the reporter's friends started laughing, like, yeah. That's true, actually. Now, drishteshu means you see something enjoyable and you get filled with desire to enjoy it. And shruteshu, Prabhupada's translation, is indirectly. By hearing about it, you become agitated. Shruteshu, drishteshu. These two terms you'll find in all shastras are always used together. Drishteshu, of course, seeing doesn't just mean with the eyes, but seeing means direct experience with any one of the senses, aside from the ears. And when you don't have the object directly in front of you, then you may become attached by shruteshu, by hearing about it. Therefore, it's not advised to talk about sense gratificatory things, because by hearing about it, you also get disturbed, you get agitation, isn't it? Just like Pururva, he will say this later on in the 11th canto, that the mind will become peaceful by staying away from things seen and by staying away from hearing about sense objects. The mind eventually becomes subdued. In other words, if you're around a particular object that's very agitating, then if you just get away from it, so you don't see it, and you don't hear about it, then eventually the mind becomes sane. Otherwise, if you're always around an object that is agitating you, or you're not around it but you're hearing about it always, then the mind remains agitated. So if you're a demon, then if you indirectly by hearing or directly by seeing sense objects, then your being becomes filled with desire. So Prahlad Maharaj is nispriha shruteshu drishte. He remained desireless despite seeing or hearing about the world of sense objects. So anyone like that? You can check the demon list. All right, well, can't check there how I get agitated. So I got two of the qualities of the demons. Guneshu avastu drik. Guneshu means, Prabhupada's translation as the objects of sense gratification under the modes of material nature. So the world of sense objects. So avastu drik, he considered all those things to be insubstantial. Vastu means having substance. Avastu means having no substance. Just like, what's a good example? I heard a good example is if you put, I can't think of a really good example of this, of something substanceless. Here's a good example. This is really mundane, but it just came to mind. When you buy a box of cereal at the store, although you have this experience, or a bag of Doritos before we were devotees, or maybe even after devotees, depending on where your consciousness is at during the day. And you buy a bag of Doritos, it looks like this huge thing, you know? And you get real excited. Yay, I'm gonna really enjoy my senses. And then you open the bag and it's like just 1/4 filled up, you know? And you feel cheated because it costs $2 for that. You thought I was gonna really enjoy it, and you open it, and there's just 1/4 filled up and the rest of it is just air. Like that. Material sense gratification is like that. There's only the promise of enjoyment. There's never actually enjoyment. Prahlad Maharaj says this. We've talked about this before. Kutra Shusha Shruti Sukha Migra Chishni Rupa. He says, where is happiness in this world? He said, it's simply in hearing about it. Shruti Sukha, or seeing it. Migra Chishni Rupa, just like a mirage in the desert. So when you see a mirage in the desert, such as water, there's a promise of happiness. Oh, if I get the water, I'll enjoy it, but you never actually get the water. So that is Vastudrik, substanceless happiness. The world of sense objects is substanceless. It's just a mirage. There's only the promise of happiness, but never actual happiness. The actual experience is one filled with envy, competition, worry, excessive hankering, lamentation. So how can there be happiness when all these things are going on psychologically? So Guneshu Avastudrik. So one who's devotee, he sees the world as substanceless, therefore he does not pursue it. Just like if you see a mirage in a desert, and you know it's a mirage, you do not pursue it. Although you may continue to see it, you know it is a mirage, I'll not pursue. I had this experience when I was in, I forgot the name of the place, it's something Black County in Las Vegas. We went to a Burning Man event. I don't know if you know what the Burning Man event is. So the devotees, we went to a Burning Man event to distribute prasad and other things. It's a huge program for sense gratification in the desert. This is how bored people are. They decide to have a huge event in the desert where there is no water, anyway. So we were there doing some programs. So during the daytime, we have free time. And it's a desert, so it's hot. So I swore I saw people walking towards a lake. It's a desert. I know it's a desert, but somehow there looked like there was a lake in the distance, and I could have sworn there were people walking toward it. So I started walking toward it too, because I was confident there were people walking that direction. And then after 20 minutes of walking, I got a doubt. I had a doubt because I wasn't getting any closer. I'm like, why? I'm not getting any closer. And then I'm like, are those really people walking toward? So I started to doubt. And then in the process of doubting if I was actually getting any closer, I was like, oh, this is a mirage. That was my first time having the experience of a mirage. It was a legit mirage. So then after I ascertained that it was a mirage, I stopped walking that direction. I could still see it, but I was like, this is a mirage, so I stopped pursuing it. So one who is devotee, he knows that the world of sense objects is avastudrik. There is no substance. So although he still perceives it, he never pursues it. Whereas if you're a demon, you're going after it. Full speed ahead. Even though you're not getting any closer, but somehow you're I'm getting closer. I'm almost there. And that means you're a demon, or non-godly. So you can put the checklist, do I got this one or not? Then the next line, Dantindriya prana shariradhi sada. He always, sada means always, danta. Danta means to control, I believe. Yes, danta, controlling the senses, the prana, the body, the intelligence, sada. He always kept his senses, life, air, and body, his intelligence, etc., always under control. So if you're a demon, you're not able to do that. Or if you're non-godly, you have a hard time keeping your senses, life, air, body, intelligence under control. Last line, prashantakama. Prashantakama means Prabhupada's translation here, he's quieted the desires. Just like desires are like loud noises, like this. It's not so bad. Okay, it'll distract me. So desires are like these loud noises that distract you from your objective in life. So the objective is supposed to be self-realization, prema, Krishna consciousness, obtained by the performance of Nam Sankirtan primarily. And desires are like these loud noises that distract you from that. Maybe a good example might be walking a tightrope. I don't know if any of you ever tried this. In colleges, it's quite popular to tie a sling or something against two trees, and you see many students trying to walk it. It's quite popular in college campuses. Probably every college campus I see this going on. And so if you want to go across the tightrope, you have to keep your eye on your prospect, the other side. You can't be looking left, looking right, looking down. Then you'll fall off. So if you're walking tightrope, you just got to stay focused on the objective, you know. Otherwise, either way you look, you fall. So material desires are like these things that, it's just like you're walking a tightrope and someone's on the side of the road, hey, look at me, like that, and then you look and then you fall off, you know. That's what material desires are like that. They're meant to distract one from the actual objective. So one who is not able to quiet the desires, or in other words, they give too much energy, they invest too much consciousness in the various disturbing sounds in the mind, then they're ashanta, they're not peaceful. Ashantasya kutal sukham, we were hearing yesterday from the Bhagavad Gita. Ashantasya kutal sukham. For one who is not peaceful, that means for one afflicted by desires, kutal sukham, then where is happiness? There's no question of happiness. So if you are a demon, you are ashantasya. Ashantasya means mind is always disturbed by desires. Whereas if you're a devotee, prashantakam, one quiets the desires. So, he's able to do so. Prabhupada's way of translation in the purport is because of the previous line. Because he keeps his senses, body, intelligence under control, he's able to quiet the desires. That is required. You can't, on the one hand, expect to have a peaceful mind, on the other hand, simultaneously pursuing the objects of the senses. So, Rahita Asura Asura, although born in a family of the demons, so he's not expected to have these qualities, or he's expected to have their opposites. He did not have those qualities. And the last line of Prabhupada's purport is, Prahlada Maharaj provided a vivid example of how to think of the spiritual master and accept his directions calmly. Seems like a really random sentence, right? It's like out of the blue. This is a vivid example of how to think of the spiritual master's directions calmly. We will hear later on in his prayers to the Shingadev how he acquired these qualities. Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe kamam bikama anuya prapatam prasangat pritvatmasa shurashina bhagavan grihita soham katam nuvishaje tavabritta sevam. He will pray to Lord Nishingadev in this way, that he was kama bikamam anuya prapatam prasangat, due to intimate association with persons who were afflicted by one desire after another. Kama bikamam. Kama bikamam means afflicted by one desire after another. Isn't it? In one moment you're upset because someone didn't appreciate you properly. At another moment you're afflicted by someone appreciating you properly. Normally you don't think of that as an affliction. You think that's very nice, but it's also a type of onslaught of the material nature. And next moment, you're afflicted that, the prasad didn't have enough salt in it, and there was no salt available, so you had to eat it. And another moment, you're afflicted because you ate too much of the good prasad and too many cinnamon buns, one after another, and then you had a stomach problem the next morning. And this way, come on, you have sex desire, one is having desire for grandeur, etc. Come on, afflicted with one desire after another. Anuya, I was following such persons. Prapatam prasanga, due to their intimate association, I was following them. And in this way, evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe. Prabhavahi kupe means I was following to the snake hole of samsara. It means that the snake hole where the python will come and devour you. I was following in such a situation due to association with people of this world. Kritatmasa shtorashina bhagavan grihita. But your devotee, Sura Rishina, the rishi amongst the suras, godly persons, Narada grihita, he came and accepted me as himself. And Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti's Thakur translation of this verse, he says, Narada Muni said, let this jiva be mine. In other words, by his mercy, he made me a part of himself. And as such, Krita Atmasat, Prabhupada's translation of this word is that he facilitated me having qualities like himself. He made me like himself. So he made me a part of himself and made me like him. So I also acquired all such transcendental qualities by his mercy. Therefore, soham katam nuvishajay tava britta sevam. Therefore, Nrsingadev, although I am seeing you, and this is actually the perfection of bhakti, the sadhana for obtaining Krishna is what? What is the sadhana? What is the methodology for attaining Krishna? Bhakti. Anyone else wants to contribute? What is the sadhana for obtaining Krishna? Shravanam Kirtanam, that's bhakti, characterized by Shravanam Kirtanam. The sadhana is keeping oneself always in good company, sadhus. Jiva Goswami writes in the Bhakti Sandarbha that because bhakti is coming from sadhu sangha, therefore sadhu sangha is also the abhideya. He writes like this in Bhakti Sandarbha. So sadhu sangha is as much the abhideya as is Shravanam and Kirtanam, because from whom are you supposed to be hearing? From sadhus, not from MP3 player. That is like a second best sort of thing. There are no other I don't have such good association or something, so therefore MP3 player or the computer. But that's not the real sadhana. That's not the real abhideya. The real abhideya is you're supposed to be hearing from sadhus who happen to be alive on Earth planet. Because if they weren't alive, there would be no question of devotional service. Bhakti was never intended to exist without their company. So, and with whom you're supposed to be chanting? With devotees. Japa can be a private practice, there's no problem with that. But Nam Sankirtan is supposed to be going on. How you do Nam Sankirtan? Sankirtan, san means samyak, means complete. It's complete when there's sangha. If you do kirtan by yourself, it's called Nam Kirtan. When you do it in the company of sadhus, it's called Sankirtan. So, Nam Sankirtan just happens to be the Yuga Dharma for the age of Kali. And so, although the sadhana to obtain darshan the Lord is sadhu sangha. So now he's attained darshan the Lord, so therefore I had no need for the methodology anymore, right? I already attained the goal of the methodology. But although seeing the Lord eye to eye, which is the goal of bhakti in some ways, he's praying for sangha. Because it is seen, even though persons achieve perfection, they always pray, this is Sri Vishwanath's language, they always pray for the sadhana, the continued sadhana of sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha is as much a part of the perfection as seeing Krishna as part of the perfection. Krishna prema janmetena punamukya anga, Mahaprabhu was taught. Even when one awakens prema, sadhu sangha remains the mukya anga, the principal anga, let's say, of devotion. So by the association of Narada, although born in the family of demons, he became godly, sura. So it gives hint of how one, although we also may have been born in the family of demons, probably, I suspect, the vast majority of us born, in terms of how it was defined here, and these are kind of like sweeping statements. They're kind of so broad that they pretty much include everyone in the existence. Getting agitated by disturbing situations, that's like natural, right? Yeah, if you're a demon. So we're more or less born in the family of demons, but notwithstanding such low birth, we can become godly by the association of sadhu. If we take their association, their instructions, calmly. I don't get the comment calmly, but the sense of it is that who is a sadhu? Chindanti manovya sangam uktabihi. Sadhu means one who will cut with his words. So it can be a little agitated being too much in their company, because they'll say things that are a little pinching. But if you can accept that calmly, with a cool head, Prabhupada says in another place, with a cool head, you accept, then their eternal auspiciousness will await you for sure. Are there any questions, comments?
Yeah. Hare Krishna. I was wondering if you would like to comment a little bit about the sort of trickiness that arises as a result of having to satisfy material desires for the sake of self-preservation, but then not knowing the fine line between, because you can see devotees becoming totally obsessed with some material desire that sort of begins with like, well, I kind of need this to carry on my spiritual life peacefully, but then it just sort of takes over. The fine line isn't always clear. Maybe because we don't have enough sadhu sangha and sadhus to keep us in line, we don't know where the line is.
Anyone has a computer? You know, this story is there, it's famous. It's told in Upakanya Upadesh. It's called The Family for the Gita. So there one, if I can get online. So it's called The Family for the Gita. So the story goes like this. A sannyasi was ordered by his guru to study Bhagavad Gita. So he went to one place called the Vindhya Hills to study the Bhagavad Gita. And there was one mouse who was always eating the pages of the Gita. So he acquired one cat to take care of the mouse. Then I can read Bhagavad Gita peacefully. But then the cat, because he went hungry, you know. Oh, I got to feed the cat. So instead of going to the market to get milk all the time, I'll just get one cow. I don't know how you get logic like this, but so some strange logic. So he went and purchased one cow in order to be able to milk the cow every day, to have milk for the cat so the cat could take care of the mouse, and then he could read Bhagavad Gita peacefully. But then the cow, the cow has got so much care to take care of one cow. One cow is tremendous. It's like everyone's talking about, you know, cow protection because it's an important thing. But if you had to actually be involved with cow protection, many of you may be having a lot of major doubts, you know, because it's in other words, it's a lot of work. They're like a member of the family. You have to really take care of them. Cow seva is actually super important, just to have a peaceful mind in Krishna consciousness. Just I remember one devotee, he was having maha disturbance in Vrindavan, and he started doing cow seva. And as soon as he started the cow seva, his mind immediately became peaceful. Even when I would go and chant japa, I used to go and chant japa at the Goshala many times, and I would sit there for like 2 hours and just watch the cows. And the mind just immediately becomes quiet, just watching the cows, you know? Everything, even them passing stool, everything, it just makes the mind just peaceful. Seriously. And they're very loving. Many times the cows, they see you watching, they will come over, you know, and they'll kind of like, you know, massage me. What are you doing? Don't just sit there. In other words, they're very affectionate, almost by nature. And you serve them, the mind becomes peaceful. Anyway, so taking care of one cow is like taking care of a family member, child. It's very intimate, stable. So then, and it was a random point. So then he needed someone to take care of the cow. So he thought, well, I need a cow herd. So somehow he got the logic to just make a cow herd. So he got a wife, and then later on, his spiritual master would come to see how his sannyas, supposed to be sannyas disciple, was doing. When he comes to the Vindhya Hills, there's this huge palace. He's like, what the hell is going on here? So he walked up to the palace, can I see so-and-so? So he comes and sees his disciple, and his disciple says, all this for reading Bhagavad Gita. And the guru was like, what the, what's going on here? So this is the story. Now here is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's purport. I'll not read the whole thing because it's quite long. But he says here, a truly Krishna conscious person should not increase the magnitude of his wants and requirements in the name of yukta vairagya, proper renunciation. A living entity engaged in devotional service should never consider himself to be equal in status and position with a perfectly liberated great soul. In other words, a liberated great soul might be able to acquire many things for the services of Krishna. Like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, as soon as you tell devotees that they're using too many things that is not actually required for service, they get irritated, and then they'll quote the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta using Rolls-Royce car and, you know, wearing nice fancy trench coat, this and that. We have no problem with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. We're talking about you know, or we might be the object that's being criticized, and we don't want to hear it. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said we should never consider ourselves equal with a perfectly liberated soul who is free to associate with the objects of this world because he sees them as paraphernalia for Krishna's service. If you can see like that, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe, which means that you're seeing the whole Jagat, that means the whole universe as paraphernalia for Krishna's service. Therefore, there's no question of enjoyment. Just like I always give a simple example, when you go to the deity room and you see the Lord's plate, you never get the idea that I'll use this plate for eating my prasad. That idea ever comes to your mind? I wonder what it'd be like to use this plate for me. That idea never comes to the mind. Why not? Because you see that this is a paraphernalia for the Lord's service, isn't it? There's no question of using that for my enjoyment. So if you can have the same vision for the whole Jagat, the whole universe, then you're qualified to apply Yuta Vairagya. Otherwise, you'll do Atyahara in the name of Yuta Vairagya. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta continues here. One who is engaged in devotional service, either as a sannyasi or as a grihasta, must adhere strictly to the scriptural injunction which prescribes thus. Yavan nirvaha patigraha. This is Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami. He should endeavor only for that much which is essentially required in favor of worshiping Sri Hari. So this is for the sannyasi and for the grihasta. His material activity should neither be excessive nor very scanty, as either of them leads to diversion from spiritual upliftment. So then, I'm scrolling down a little bit here. Now this is where it gets very interesting. I hope you are all hearing. Are you hearing? Oh, hearing? Pretending to attain perfection through carefully listening and adhering to myriads of injunctions from great liberated souls. In other words, one likes to hear from many persons. Why? Because there's greater opportunity to take something from here, take something from there, in support of my sense gratification. If you just hear from one person that knows your mentality, he'll be cutting down everything. So that gets a little irritating. So then you want to, in the name of hearing from many liberated persons and taking ideas from this one and that one, you find all the room you need to do your sense gratification. So pretending to attain perfection through carefully listening and adhering to myriads of injunctions from great liberated souls. Now here's from the Bhaktisiddhanta starts, we're like a punching bag. Our wicked, mischievous, uncontrollable, extroverted mind, along with its propensities, endeavors to acquire gratifying objects falsely, ascribing them as favorable to devotional service to Sri Hari, while taking recourse to hypocritical diplomatic demeanors. We become much attached to physical comfort and to our dependent wife and children through self-deception of undergoing family life with a plea to observe Yuta Vairagya, like the sannyasi in the story, on the plea of proper renunciation. And offering devotional service to Lord Hari, Lord Hari simultaneously. Even after becoming a sannyasi, a brahmachari, a Krishna conscious grihasta, or a vanaprastha, many of us desire to obtain material reputation and fame, and we try to lord it over everything. This will cause us utter spiritual destruction. So now, in answer to your question, the last statement here is this. It is therefore most essential to pray for the mercy of pure, honest devotees, constantly keeping ourselves in their uncontaminated association with complete loyalty and allegiance, and thus exposing before them all our misgivings, so that we may be blessed with their inestimable guidance. So that would be an answer to your question, that last sentence particularly. Keeping ourselves always in their uncontaminated association with complete loyalty and allegiance, and thus exposing before them all our misgivings, so that we may be blessed with their inestimable guidance. Otherwise, definitely, no one is, just like devotees, they have so many of us, all of us, we have so many gadgets in the name of Yuta Vairagya because it can be used in service to Krishna. No one has a problem with the idea that it can be used. The question is it being used in service to Krishna? And then we can always just say, well, I'm just neophyte, so, we shouldn't judge one another. And that's okay, we shouldn't judge one another, but as far as discussing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the real principles of surrender, how do you expect to make advancement without actually surrendering? If an object is unfavorable for devotional service, then one is to discard it. That's the principle of surrender. All of our going to this retreat and that retreat to learn about techniques for how to chant japa, and going for that retreat to participate in lively kirtan, spending, hundreds and hundreds of dollars that could be used for the services of Krishna. Anyway, we're not going to go into all of that. But for these things, but not surrendering. Surrendering means what? Anukuyasa sankalpa, that which is favorable, accepting. Pratikuyasa varjanam, that which is unfavorable, rejecting. So if you see that a particular object is sucking up all your consciousness that's supposed to be used for Krishna, then that is called as unfavorable, just in case you didn't know that. And it's to be discarded. And if you can't do that, and then you're saying, oh, the name that, oh, I'm a neophyte, like that, well, you're gonna remain neophyte like that. There has to be some sacrifice, some real surrender. So if you're confused of whether or not an object is favorable or not, then you have to keep yourself in good company. And sadhu means he's going to tell you plainly, to the face. Cut. Chindanti manovya sangam uktabi. Manovya sangam means the mind's dangerous attachments. Chindanti uktabihi, with his words he will cut. Sadhu means plain speaker. If you ask him, he does not speak ambiguously like the New Age people. You ask him some question, it's like, we just have to feel the energy around us, and no one knows what the hell they're talking about, That is not sadhu. Sadhu means plain speaker, very straightforward, he speaks things. So it's a little irritating, actually. It means when you hear from sadhu like that, it gets a little agitating because we're attached. So you hear something playing, it's annoying. No doubt, definitely. In other words, you ain't gonna like it. That's all right, it's still our medicine. We take that medicine. At least we try to take it. At least start sipping it. Just like you had this real nasty tea, like Mikey sometimes makes this real nasty tea for us. It's Ayurvedic though. It's really good for you. It's Ayurvedic, but it's nasty like anything. And he'll say, I added some sugar. I'm like, not enough. Or you just sip it. And then you're just sitting there like staring at it, like, all right, I know I gotta take it. But it's tasting really bad, Then sometimes you're just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna chug it. Just get it over with, like that. In a similar way, you associate with sadhu, In the beginning, it's like medicine. It's bitter. This is called happiness in the mode of goodness. It is bitter in the beginning. All right, something else.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. You were mentioning that just by hearing about sense gratification, one will get the start. So in the Gita it says, even one of the roaming senses, could throw one off one's game. So my question is, if just hearing or seeing, etc., can throw our intelligence off, then why are there scriptures? Because sometimes we say, don't hear Rasa Leela, that might, agitate your mind, you might get misconceptions. But from my personal perspective, from reading scriptures, I don't need to read Rasa Leela. There's so many other, kind of sense gratification pastimes in the scriptures. Is that why do they kind of put so many, examples in that, won't ever disturb kind of our minds in general? So what's the difference?
Those stories are embedded with so many instructions ridiculing that standard of consciousness. So by hearing the ridicule, one's intelligence becomes reinforced. Like that. That's the idea. Means that when we hear about sense gratification from sense gratifiers, they speak about it positively. So that's encouraging. But when you hear about sense gratification from devotees, they speak about it with pessimism. And so that helps our intelligence become stronger. That is the Bhagavatam's approach.
One small other question. You were mentioning accept things that are favorable for devotional. So we have so many gadgets. So the problem is we've already accepted an unfavorable object. Even if we renounced everything, we've accepted the most unfavorable object, the mind. So what to do, if we kind of renounced everything, it's is it essential?
That's exactly how devotees were arguing when you criticize the fact that they have gross objects. They'll say, well, the real problem is in the mind. It's not in the object.
No, I'm just saying, suppose you get rid of all unfavorable objects. That doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna, let's say, get Krishna's mercy. It's a good start.
It's a good start. The idea, just as I mentioned in the class, Prabhu says that for those objects which are neither seen or heard about, the mind becomes calm. So then you can focus on your kirtan, which will free the mind from its pollution. But you can hardly think that by keeping dangerous objects around you, dangerous means you're attracted and distracted by them, and simultaneously chanting, that's going to help you. So it might be a good start that you just keep yourself distant from many of those objects, out of sight, out of mind. That's Purva's statement itself. Out of sight, out of mind, and also out of ears. That's important. Then the mind comes a little subdued. It can focus on the object. It's not that some objects are certainly required for services. It's not like we're saying. Devotees are indifferent. At least they're supposed to be. One of the adhikar, when Krishna is discussing the adhikar for a bhakta, the main adhikar mentioned by Krishna is that yadrichaya chatasrado makataya tuyapuman. The main adhikar is that he's got shraddha for hearing harikatha. He's got faith in the topics of Krishna, faith in the topics in scriptures describing bhakti. But then he mentions as some secondary characteristics of a person with bhakti adhikar, and one of them is that he's indifferent to the material world. So he's not averse to it, nor is he attached to it. In terms of his services to Krishna, he will engage with the energy. So the same instruction is coming in Rupa Goswami's Yukta Vairagya verse. Yatarham upayunjata. According to suitability for the services, he will engage. But our critique is that, first of all, most devotees, we don't take guidance from anyone. We don't hear from anyone. So, we can't take any feedback if this object or that object is unfavorable. So by self-deception, as I read from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, we would just ascribe favorability or favorableness to all the objects on the plea that it can be used for service of Krishna, which we don't have a problem with. But are you using it for service of Krishna? That's the problem. So the point is that if it's being shown that it's not actually favorable, that one is actually distracted by it, then better to depart with it, out of sight, out of mind. And then your mind can focus on the purified. It's just like when you want to, the doctor, when he'll prescribe you taking certain medicine along with a particular diet also. And you got to follow the diet for the medicine to be most effective. So taking these objects may not be good. So he says, I'm prescribing abstinence from that. You fast from those things for now. Because right now it's damaging your health. So you fast from those things. And you focus on taking the medicine. So that might be necessary for some of us. Perhaps arguably for many of us. For some of us, our services require engagement with certain objects. And we got to know that we're dealing with dangerous things because they were created by demons, not for assisting us in Krishna consciousness. So they were created by demons for augmenting our own demoniac propensity. Our propensity to talk nonsense, for example. And then you get a little portable object that allows you to do it all throughout the day. So it was designed by demons for bringing out our demonness that's within us. And we associate with those objects without any caution practically, and we evince our natural demoniac quality, which is as simple as just speaking nonsense, which is a demoniac quality that is in us, for example. So maybe out of sight, out of mind, it can help. There are many devotees I've seen argue like this. But the real problem is in the mind, and also with the objects. You have to understand that the senses and the sense objects are like conspirators against the soul. They're like conspirators against the soul. They're working in conjunction with each other to keep the soul bound up by the material nature. So we should see it like that. We're in a dangerous situation. Not like everything's a cool walk in the park. Like when I first got into Krishna consciousness, I'm like, man, going back to God is going to be so easy. Like, I can't believe people were struggling. This is so... And then after some maturity, you come to understand that you're in a very dangerous situation.
I appreciate that answer. And like you mentioned, these things we can avoid, like gadgets. Those are within our grasp to definitely avoid. But what about the things that aren't in our grasp to avoid? Like you mentioned, the objects of sense desire, we have to walk outside. We just have to just be patient and wait for the Lord's mercy, and we're trying our best. Give up the objects. Is that the essence, basically?
You're not engaging with the object of sex.
No, that's true. Well, in mind, that's probably potentials.
You just bring the mind back. Focus on kirtan. Do more nam-sankirtan. If the mind is getting all messed up, maybe you need to be doing more nam-sankirtan. Like most of us could be doing a little bit more. You know, we got a little standard going on now here, in about 3 hours. So at least that. The more the better. You know, if the mind's going off, then bring it back to Nam Sankirtan. Just like sometimes we'd be in New York, and the mind, so many objects going in front of you, you know. And most of the time you're okay, but sometimes you're like, oh man, you know, I got caught. And that time you just like turn around and face the Kirtaniya, you know, and don't look out there and just bring your mind to the Kirtan, to the holy name of Krishna. You know, because I know we're supposed to be out there benefiting everyone else, but prime benefit is supposed to be, at least we should be getting benefited, not that the opposite thing is happening while we're out there and falling down.
Okay, so this class has brought about many points, and one is like a personal example in my life. It's like when I was staying in New Vrindavan, there wasn't so much association of like devotees my age, and so I had my computer and I'd go to the temple, but then like once I was done, I'd go right to playing video games and be doing that for like a lack of like social connection. And so when I went to Krishna House, I knew it was like it's time to like give that part of it up. So I put my computer away for like almost 2 months. I didn't even open it up before. I was like just like letting go, getting away from it, stepping back. And so your class has reminded me of like how sometimes it is required just to like set it aside. You don't really need many of these objects. But then again, it's like, all right, once you are ready, you can again take the same object and then actually use it in Krishna's service if you have enough control of your mind.
Underscoring the if. Underscoring the if. If.
Yeah. That's a big question. And so the big if is like, how do you decide if you can? And so
It's usually easy. First of all, if you have some trustworthy guidance above you, they might be able to assist. But otherwise, you just see the movement of your psychology when you contact that object, what's happening. It's like Prabhu said, you don't need to know, you don't need a certificate to know when you're advanced or advancing in Krishna consciousness. It's like when you're eating food, you don't need anyone else to tell you that you had enough. You know for yourself. So in the same way, you can make out for yourself if an object is disturbing. Just see how you're using it. If you're actually using it, that object's 10% for Krishna's services, then you know that you've advanced yourself, you've improved. The if is now, you got it. But if you see that I'm doing it mostly for Krishna service, but there's a good amount of time doing it for other things also, then you might say this is not actually healthy for me. Like that, you can make out. And if you're unclear, you can discuss with some devotee you have trust with and say this is how I'm engaged with the object. And then they may offer some guidance also, like this. Sometimes it becomes rough. Like for me, sometimes I get really irritated because I'm like, I don't want to use the computers. But for my services, I have to use it a lot because I do a lot of phone conferences. I'm getting emails like constantly throughout the day. I have to write emails and so on. So I have to engage with the object. And sometimes I'll like want to waste time, you know, okay, let me go and do this and waste a little time. Yeah. Like that, you know, but I can't exactly give it up because now my services are so intertwined with that particular object. And so for me, that's like very dangerous situation where you can't even let it go for various reasons because of your services. It means that, so then you would have to be legit. Sometimes, I mean, in other words, you would have to really develop the fitness for Krishna consciousness. It's like a workout. You got to really develop fitness if you're somehow your services are intertwined with certain objects, which can be dangerous. Then you got to just really become Krishna conscious, no excuses. And if you're not able to do it, develop the fitness fast enough, then you just got to do the needful, make the sacrifice. I can't do this right now. Those services close for some time until I get a little bit more muscle power. That is necessary. We have to always keep our goal of life in mind. Human life actually does have a goal. And it's not just doing what's socially respectable. You know, if you see that your consciousness is going down, even though everyone else can be telling you that it's okay, it's for Christian services and all that, but you know within yourself that the service is going down, and you're interested in actually achieving the goal of life, then you will do the needful, notwithstanding everyone else's idea of what, you know, is good and bad. Because you know within yourself that I'm not really being helped. So one has to be introspective. Like the Church of Maharaj's language is one has to take inventory of his inner life. Just like I worked one job, it was my first and last job, and it was at the Gap. And I got fired because when I joined Christian Consciousness right when I got my job, actually, same time. And I used to chant japa in the back loud in the Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, like really loud. And I remember my manager was like, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I thought he was interested. Yeah, I thought he was getting uplifted. So I just plainly told him Christian consciousness, and I was downloaded as much of the philosophy I could on him in one sitting. And then a week later, I got a dismissal notice. And I was like, what happened? Anyway, that's a sidebar, but when we had to take inventory of certain clothes, you would go in the back and see how many pairs of jeans were there. Oh, this pair is going down, we have to order some more of this. So one is to take inventory of their inner life, what something is missing. And then do the needful, make the sacrifice. Like at the present moment, I'm going through a certain transitional phase in my life. And it took me several months of introspection to come to terms with a certain transition I felt that I needed to make in order for my progressive Christian consciousness to go on. And so it requires a certain sacrifice that was difficult for me on a personal level, but at the same time, it was like I need to do the needful because I ultimately have to achieve the goal of life. And notwithstanding the push for compassion towards others, charity starts at home. If I'm not Christian conscious, then how much will I really be able to do for others? I like that. So introspect, take inventory.
Okay, yeah, the point of introspection is also the other point I wanted to bring up. There's a set mood in my sadhana that I try and keep it. If my sadhana start feeling bad or my rounds start slipping, I take the time to say, okay, something is going on, something is causing the effect. Is why aren't my rounds all that good? Or it's do I really feel like singing in the morning program? That's when I take the step back. It's okay, this is coming from somewhere. Something in my life has changed, and so I have to take a look at, okay, what is good, what has become different, and so in that way, it's keeping a mental check. It's if you are happy in your sadhana, then that is a good sign, and if you are not happy, then you have to take a look at it
It may not always be, happiness in sadhana may not always be indicative of progress in sadhana. Just like people can be doing the bare minimum and feel themselves happy in sadhana. Sometimes when you're moving forward, it's rough. Just like Arjuna, in order for him to progress, he has to do something very challenging in the form of killing beloved people. So our sadhana experience might be like that. To move forward, sacrifice means letting go of something you might be attached to. That might not be the most positive experience, psychologically at least. But in your core of hearts, this is best. You're making progress. So it can look rough too. That's my point. It may not always look like happy life. It can look a little rough too, a little broke off, but you're making progress nonetheless. Like that. Okay, it is 8:30 now, so let's stop here. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. So we're about to go for the morning jog. If anyone wants to join. But meaning by 8:40 we should be starting. Okay. Play volleyball? No, we're just jogging.